our first step is always going to be getting this set equal to 0. So subtract the 4x, subtract the 4. So we have x cubed plus x squared minus 4x minus 4 is less than or equal to 0. When there are 4 terms, how do we factor? By grouping. Okay, x cubed plus x squared, what's the GCF? X squared. X cubed divided by x squared is x. And x squared divided by x squared? Negative 4x minus 4, what's the GCF? And if we divide that out, we're left with x plus 1. All right, so the factored form would be x plus 1 times x squared minus 4. But how can we factor x squared minus 4? X plus 2, x minus 2. So this is x plus 1, x plus 2, and x minus 2. Okay, so if we ignore the inequality sign and we set these all equal to 0, what would x equal? X plus 1 would give us x equals negative 1. X plus 2 would give us, and x minus 2 would give us. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to make a number line and put them in order. So negative 2, negative 1, and 2. And in the Edpuzzle video, I told you guys to make test points. Okay, and that's fine. You can also use what you know about graphing a polynomial, or just use your graphing calculator. So if we use a graphing calculator, and we type this in, and we're going to type in when we have it equal to 0. So after this first step. Okay, so we have x cubed plus x squared. Whoops, how about we not put that up at the top? Minus 4x minus 4. And then if we look at the graph, we can see what the shape is. Okay. So if it's underneath the x-axis, that's considered negative. If it's above the x-axis, it's considered positive. So where does the graph start? Above or below? Below. So that would be negative. And then it goes to positive. And then from negative 1 to 2, is it above or below the x-axis? Below. And then from 2 to infinity, it is above. It's positive. All right. So what we're going to do now, because that's the hard part, is the testing points. We want to know when this is less than or equal to 0. If a number is less than or equal to 0, is it positive or negative? It's negative. Our answers are anywhere where it's negative. So I'm going to shade that in on our number line. And then you need to decide, is it parentheses or brackets? So it's less than or equal to. So does that mean parenthesis or bracket? Bracket. And this is just an arrow. And that arrow to the left is going to what number? Negative infinity. So when we want to write this in interval notation, we have negative infinity to negative 2, union negative 1 to 2. Okay. Let the graph help you. If you don't have a graphing calculator, use Desmos. Desmos.com. Let that be your graphing calculator. That's perfectly fine. Sound good? Okay. Number 3 is the same thing. The difference here is that it can't factor. So if you set this equal to 0, you get 4x squared plus 2x minus 1 is less than 0. There aren't any factors in -4 that add to be 2. So if you need to solve for x, how are you going to have to do that? Quadratic formula. Okay. So if we do that, we have x equals -2 plus or minus the square root of 2 squared, which is what? 4. Minus 4 times 4 times -1. And so 4 minus -16. All over 2 times 4, which is 8. So x equals -2 plus or minus. Okay, 4 minus -16 is 20. How can we break apart the square root of 20? 4 and 5. What's the square root of 4? 2. What's the square root of 5? Just the square root of 5. All over 8. Can you reduce the fraction? Yeah. They are all divisible by 2. So this becomes -1 plus or minus the square root of 5 all over 4. Okay, so if we make our number line, the -1 minus the square root of 5 is going to be the smaller one. And -1 plus square root of 5 over 4 is the bigger one. If you need to change those to decimals to figure that out, that's fine. Okay. Now, we know that this is a quadratic. What's the shape of a quadratic? It's a parabola. What's our value for A? 4. Is that positive or negative? Positive. So is our graph facing up or down? Up. So we have a parabola facing up. That looks like this, right? We want to know where our graph is less than 0. Is that positive or negative? Negative. So we're looking for all of our answers that are underneath our x-axis, which would be the outside or the inside? The inside. So these are our answers. It's less than, are we going to have parentheses or brackets? Parentheses. So your answer is going to be from -1 minus the square root of 5 over 4 to -1 plus the square root of 5 over 4. Parentheses around it. Leave it exact. You don't need to change it to decimals. Okay. Most of them you're not going to have to do quadratic formula in your homework today.